So last night I did an ionic foot soak with this machine. This is an ionic foot cleanse machine that I got from Amazon. It's called a foot spa, and what it does is it pulls the heavy metals, parasites, and toxins from your system. And then later on last night, I felt something moving in my nose. And see, what I did was I do not want any dormant parasites floating around in my system. That makes me a walking, ticking time bomb for this event to happen in my life again. I'm not playing those games. Once is enough for me. And so, what I found was, I don't even know if you can see it. Let me see if I can find, use this book. There is, you can barely see that fiber there. It looks like a piece of hair. Looks like a piece of hair, right? Nanotech. You can't see it, can you? Like, you can see it once I put it in front of my face. Nanotech is this small, people. And so what it looks like hair. It looks like a synthetic fiber off of your clothes. Like a fuzzy off of your hand crocheted cap. And so what has happened is they're selling us, like this shirt, completely synthetic fibers. It's not a natural fabric. So I burn them. Why? Why do I do that? They're antennas. Antennas for what? Ask the CIA. Ask NRO. Ask your friendly government why they need us to wear the synthetics. Why? So that they can get a read on us. It allows the AI in your devices and around us in technology. It allows that to get a read on us. What kind of read? It knows, it tells them what your parasite count is. It tells them your mental status, your physical status, your heart rate, your temperature, the size of your morning poop. It tells them all of this. How do I know? I utilized AI in my parasite purge. And so in borrowing the government's tools, I made it my friend. And in this, we are clueless. Like even this, synthetic fibers. I've lost my parasites, so they don't know if I'm alive or not. They know by my AI that I'm kicking. But because they can't get a read, if you have parasites in your system, what that does, it's like the backboard of an x-ray machine. That's why there's all that equipment around you. It's so that they can see inside of you. And once I don't have parasites in my system and I'm no longer surrounded by synthetics, they can't get a readout. No different than the x-ray machine. If you're not standing by that backboard, they can't get a good readout. And so technology has actually come a long ways. That's what people need to realize. In this, continuing to not educate ourselves on this information, continuing to not try to understand it, we miss information. And then next thing you know, somebody else is holding all the cards, and we're like, where's my cards? And they're like, oh, you're not playing, remember? And so this is all part of Matrix. If you look, well, you know, the boomer generation is not trying to understand the younger generations. And so the gaming, all of that is connected. AI, connected. It doesn't matter if you're participating or not. If you are not participating, then you are called a non-player character because you choose not to know any information. You choose not to educate yourself on what is truly happening. Conspiracies. It's a con job to keep you floating through rabbit holes so you don't actually know what's what, so that you are more confused after being in that rabbit hole. You're more confused, you're less grounded, and you fall for the con. In doing the science, I then erase the con from the conspiracy. It's going to be pertinent to educate ourselves on technology because technology has already taken over the planet. And I don't like, technology did not choose this. Who chose this? Corporate. The corporate ladder. Elites, government. Somebody else chose this. We stayed ignorant, and so we lacked concept and mental construct in order to make these choices. And so it's going to be important for us to get back to the preschool of language and start to understand the wool that's been pulled over our eyes, our proverbial eyes. We have been led in all sorts of directions, but none of it leads us to truth until we find the information, find the science. Once you understand the science, at which point things start to make sense. All of the mythology stories, the biblical stories, it all pertains to technology. It all pertains to technology. A lot of it, it starts in our nursery rhymes from our generations. It starts in the old wives' tales. It starts in the things that our grandmothers told us, our great-grandmothers told us, the things that our mothers told us. It shows the illusion that our parents were under. It shows the illusion that our grandparents were under. It's generations of illusions that got us to where we're at. There's no point in laying blame. There's no point. Outside of the elites, you have two classes of people on the planet. You have the elites and you have the ones who are not. And so by adding money to the equation, by adding objects of our obsession, by adding materialistic things into our surroundings, it muddies up the water. And so we then cannot see all of the illusions that have been placed on us because it's 3D objects that seem very real. 3D objects. What are the odds that this whole PBA free is part of the forever plastics? This is why we need to be going back to glass, going back to things that can be in a healthy way recycled and reprocessed or reused in some way. I reuse glass. It can be tumbled, it can be melted down. There's a science to it, but it can be done. And it does not affect our atmosphere. So in the commercializing of things, it's muddied up our atmosphere. And there are things that they say is eco-friendly that actually is not. It's like the non-GMO, GMO. They have fish that you can buy for an aquarium. It's non-GMO but genetically modified fish in order for them to glow under your glow light. And so in this, we've been sold lies. We've been sold misperceptions. We've been sold the construct that somebody wants us to believe in order to get us to cooperate. They've told us what we needed to sleep at night. And so it's when you accept not getting sleep at night, the answers will come to you. Notice, well, for me, my best thoughts come at night. I have a clear mind at night. Why? Well, do you understand what happens to people when they go to sleep? You astral project, whether you mean to or not. You go into an etheric realm that is technically called dream space. And so your soul then gets a rest period from the weight, the gravity of things on the planet. Not just gravity itself, but the gravity of things on the planet. Because in the etheric realm, anything is possible. Everything is possible. Everything changes. Nothing stays the same. As well as it is an atmosphere that you have more control than in your waking moments. And ever try to change your dream? I've dreamt something. I dreamt of a car accident. And in this car accident, in this dream of the car accident, my daughter died. I had this dream when she was approximately 9. It was just before her first birthday. So it would have been I had the dream for a month before her first birthday. And then the actual car accident was Memorial Day weekend, right before her birthday in June, the beginning of June. And when I woke up from this dream, I legitimately had sand in my mouth. I had to take a drink to empty that sand out of my mouth. How does that happen? Astral projection. And so the body carries residual effects of that. So the next night, for as many nights as I could, I would try to go to sleep with the intention of altering the outcome in that dream. Why would I do that? Because I had had dreams that came true. I dreamt of my mom's stepdad's funeral. And in that dream, I remember the open casket. I remember asking questions to understand death to my aunt. Why my aunt? Because my parents were not trying to ask questions. They didn't want to answer why. They didn't want to answer the things that I wondered about. Children should be seen and not heard. Well, there's your first problem. No wonder you don't know what your kids are doing. You cut them off in the communication of things. And so Gen X especially was taught a lack of communication. They were taught to oblige the earlier generations in their lack of communication because they were trying to create a picture that they had in their mind, and we were obligated to play along. And so that's what I learned as a child, play along. And that is one thing that I got too good at. But so when the funeral actually happened, my aunt had already answered questions. So I got to ask a second round. I got to ask other questions instead of repeating what was in the dream. And so essentially I got to visit that moment in time twice. Before it happened, and then when it happened. Another time, it was a grandfather figure that had adopted us into the family. And he had been having heart problems. He had surgery, and they were preparing to send him home. They understood that he was well. And in this dream, it was a green lit room. I was standing in the corner for some reason, and I watched the monitors go off. Everybody was around him trying to resuscitate him, and I watched a green spirit come out of his body and ascend. And the doctors, they didn't pay attention, but they did the call the time of death, 12:05 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, Mountain Time. Like I saw it play out. I saw the surgeon's wardrobe, the surgeon's face, the nurses, the equipment in the room. I saw it all. And then seconds later, that dream was interrupted by a neighbor knocking on the door, letting us know that that actually happened, letting us know that something went wrong and he passed away. And so as a child, my mind said, I had a guilt. My mind kept saying, I did this. I made this happen. Did I do this? And back in the 80s and 90s, you did not talk to you were taught not to communicate. Children should be seen and not heard, and they preferred not to see you either. We were taught to go away. Gen X, that's what we were taught. And so in this, I never communicated, but I had the dream for my mom's stepdad. I had the dream months in advance. And so I did things out of character. Nobody noticed that I did things out of character because I knew his time was coming. Same with the other grandpa, the adopted grandpa. Well, you know, it wasn't until the dream happened that I knew his time was coming. And then I didn't even have time to mentally process that it happened. And so what I learned was to stop dreaming in that. I didn't have anybody to discuss this with until I was a grown-up. And so we have these childhood events that have already shaped us as grown-ups. And until we revisit that on a mental level and are like, oh, that actually carries significance. And no, dreaming about it did not make it happen. That was premonition. Things come to us in premonitions. And so in this, I have pre-notions on different things before they happen. I'm not the only one. I tell this to people so that they too can revisit these times in their lives and regroup, because that's what's needed on the planet right now, a regrouping of ourselves and together as a collective. And so when I dreamt about the car accident, I remembered these with my grandfathers, how they died. I did not want my daughter to die. And so every chance I would lay down and take a nap and dream a different outcome so that she had a chance to live, because in my mind, that's what it was going to take. And lo and behold, there was a different outcome when the car accident actually happened Memorial Day weekend in the end of May. And so instead of her dying, like what actually happened in the physical was we were driving out to a camp spot. We were going to camp with friends. There were no cell phones. I could not contact them and let them know what happened. I couldn't let them know that I was coming. I couldn't let them know anything. There were people speeding up, slowing down, stomping on their brakes, and I decided that I was going to pass. We had no speed limit here on the highway at that point in time, and so I escalated speed to 70 miles per hour to pass these two cars because the drivers were not acting right. It was more dangerous to be behind them than to try to get in front of them. And so there was two cars. I chose to pass, and the second car did not look. What they did was they decided to pass as well and ended up sideswiping my car 3 times, almost knocking me off of a cliff. And so the third time, it knocked the hood up on my car and I could no longer see, but I knew there was oncoming traffic and I was going to have to pick a ditch. It was the cliff or the wall. And I chose the wall because at least there was a stopping point that I could potentially survive, that my daughter could potentially survive. We flipped and rolled the car. It crunched a 1983, 84 Crown Victoria, hard metal body. If I had not had an older vehicle, it would have crushed us. And so we hit the wall, skidded to a stop, flipped and rolled the car, hit the wall. That was cliff the other way. Like if I was up at the top, that would have been a cliff, but I hit the wall of the embankment. And they had to dig my battery. The battery sunk, flew out of the car and sunk into the ditch. And of course, people were trying to blame me. But when the police did the forensics, they saw the skid marks. They saw every time this woman sideswiped me. And they wondered how I had maintained. I sprained both my thumbs trying to maintain control of the vehicle. Knocked the driver's side window out with my head. And the elderly couple were intoxicated with alcohol. The second car was intoxicated with drugs. My daughter did survive. Things flew around the car, hit her in the head. She was an asthmatic at almost 1. And so because of the labored breathing in her lungs, they flew her in a helicopter to the hospital and took me in an ambulance. I had seatbelt burns across my chest. I had actually, my seatbelt was broken, so I was plugged into the center seatbelt, the seatbelt for the center seat, and then I flipped the armrest down. Instead of dismissing the seatbelt, I at least had one on, and then by the armrest being down, that at least held things into place. So I put forethought into it. This is why forethought is important. And so I had tried to get insurance on the vehicle, but the insurance agent dropped the ball and did not actually start the insurance, even though they had my money. So I was able to then go before a judge and show all of this information and not get any tickets out of this accident. So while I'm the victim, I'm having to defend myself against the people who are lying about what happened and against the tickets that the law enforcement tried to give me. Fortunately, I covered my bases. This is why you want to take notes of things. You want to have a paper trail. You want to have things at least mentally logged, as well as logged in a journal or on paper. Keep your receipts. This is why I tend to keep things until I know for sure that I no longer need them. And sometimes it's years down the road that you find out you need that paperwork. But when I went to take this to court, I was a poor person, single mom, barely any income. And so when I talked to an attorney, he noted that the older couple, their insurance company was going to cover their butt, but because my insurance company did not do their job, I was not covered. And so the second car, the one that actually hit me, they did not have insurance, as well as neither one of them had jobs. And so what the attorney told me is, you can't get blood from a turnip. Later on, I noticed the drug addicts, they were driving a nice car. They had the money to move on with their life. But I was injured. I lost my vehicle. Like, they got to drive away from the accident. My car was no longer drivable. I had money in the glove box that got pushed up into the wiring, fortunately, because the tow truck driver would have taken my money. I lost items. There were things that flew out of the car. This is why, like, you prepare yourself. Fortunately, I had dreams about the accident, and so safety-wise, I was prepared. But I had no one that would could prepare me for the other events. And so now I do not run around with valuables in my vehicle the same as what I used to. I used to go prepared for overnight visits. I was prepared to go camping with my toddler. There was all sorts of things in the car that I lost in this accident. It wasn't about what I lost. It was about what I did not lose. I did not lose my daughter. I did not lose my money. And so reflecting on these things is important, because I don't have to be sad about that anymore. I'm in a different place. I have, like, it's almost 31 years later. And so I gained knowledge. I gained the ability to actually do something should that happen again. Odds are it's not going to happen again, because I'm more like, I don't try to pass people the same as what I used to. It gave me a complete distrust of people. Every experience that I've had in life gave me a complete distrust of humanity, because they are only looking out for themselves. And so in that experience, I honor myself by not becoming that. I honor the planet. I honor the people that love me by not becoming that. And so understand where things have gone in the world. We now have things in place to where people won't get away with that the same. But this is why law enforcement wants to be watching at all times, because there's a lot of shady people out there. And so I opened up all the guards on my phone, on my devices. I allow law enforcement to watch the people around me. Why? Because it benefits me. I'm tired of being the victim. So I become an aid to law enforcement by opening up these guards. We're afraid of what? Something that's already happened. And so instead of being afraid of something that's already happened, you think they can't get past those guards? The government has other constructs in play. You can load your phone with all sorts of securities. You can change the settings all you want. But odds are your neighbor doesn't know about that. Or the guy driving by doesn't know about that. Now we have the eye in the sky, satellites. And they absolutely can see everything. But on a certain level, because humanity has become so dishonest it needs to be that way. If you are not a dishonest person, what are you hiding? I realized that it was dishonest people trying to sway my opinion on the topic. And I decided I had a different opinion about it because those were the same people being dishonest with me. And so in this, it becomes not a me problem. If you get caught doing something that you're not supposed to do because you happen to stand by me that day, it's not a me problem. If you can't do the time, if you don't want to do the time, don't do the crime. Bottom line. I taught this to my kids, and that's what I live by. I'm not out doing crime because I don't want to do the time. And then come to find out, all the jails and prisons are full. They're only after specific people. So I had nothing to fear anyways. I'm not building guns in the shed outside of my house. I'm not selling drugs at my kitchen table. I'm not getting high with friends or neighbors. I'm not doing the things that other people are doing. They have a reason to be a skeptic and suspicious and put up all their barriers, but I do not. And so in understanding the bigger scheme of things, I choose to comply. I'm not giving into the conspiracy theories because conspiracy theories are usually built by criminals. And one day, I could become law enforcement. So why wouldn't I want to play? So I just don't want the synthetics. You don't get to nanotech my body. That's crossing boundaries. Watch for my devices. Watch wherever you want to watch. But inserting things in my body without my permission is crossing boundaries. And I'm going to call the government on this now. I realize it is not all government entities, but there is what's called shadow government. You have the government that works above board, and you have the government that works below board, and they control the above board government. And so in this, I don't plan to work in the shadow. I plan to work in the light. And so it's like healing people without their permission. You don't get to put things in my body to monitor me without my permission. If you want to do so, I suggest you ask permission, because there are laws of consent in play on the planet. You don't get to just come up and own a woman because she's a woman and the world views that as a lower status. Like, women have been put into slave status. We're the housekeepers. We raise the children. We coddle the men. I'm not that girl. And so my second husband called me the enforcer. Boy, I think he was correct, because I made him live to a higher standard or leave. Those are your options. Why? Why should I tolerate anything less? Tolerance? That's the road to hell. I'm not here to tolerate. If you want my cooperation, there's better ways to get it than to sneak one up on me, than to manipulate me or be a bully. None of the above will be tolerated. And so what government officials are pulling, you're about to find out what it's like to get policed by a higher power. Let that be a warning to you. When I found out what they were doing to me, two can play. If it's legal for them to do it to me, then it's legal for me to do it to them. Obviously, there must not be any laws on it, or nobody would be doing it. And so this is where I'm probably a little too honest. Yeah, I am monitoring the government and I will police them. How? For me to know and you to find out. That's how. When beings are going to act like children, I'm going to treat them like children. And my children absolutely know how that went. It didn't go their way because I'm not complacent. I'm not submissive. And I'm just not complying with rules I never agreed to. I realized maybe my grandparents, maybe my mother, maybe all of my ancestors agreed to some things, but I didn't. I will only sign up for what I agree to, but doing shady things behind my back, I absolutely did not agree to that. And so if you do not want me to do that back to you, then I suggest you do not do it to me. If you don't want me talking behind your back, then I suggest you don't do it to me. Because what I'm going to do it out in the street, in front of your face, and have a conversation in front of your face to where you as an eavesdropper have to come and call me out, because nobody has the balls for that, evidently. People have tried, but it fronts them out to what they're doing. It makes them have to confront their own behavior. And people don't like that. And so the bullies in my neighborhood, I confronted their behavior. And so by doing different things that I did with a private investigator mind, they got their hand caught in the cookie jar when I slapped it shut on their hand and looked them in the eye and said, now are you going to tell me I didn't see that, didn't hear that, you didn't do that? Then I'm going to call you a liar. Absolutely. So the man sitting on the throne in the White House, you're a liar and a fat mouth. And hell is coming to breakfast. You will pay for the things that you have done, the lives that you have ruined, the children that you have touched. You will pay for that. That is a crime. Just because they normalize abuse and normalize these crimes, it's still in the law book, sir. You will pay for your crime. And I say this to all politicians, all justice system employees. If you do not want me to take your job from you, then I suggest you act right. Capiche? I know we're all speaking the same language. Hear me when I say I'm coming for your job. Absolutely, because you're not doing it right. My grandmother said, if someone else can't do it right, do it yourself. So that's what I'm doing. I don't need a paycheck to do it right, but I will outdo you. I already have. And so in this, everything you do has been logged with AI. There's a new sheriff in town, and I realize I can't go and slap handcuffs on you, but at that point in time, I'd have to give you some food. I don't plan to do that. I'm not taking hostages, and I don't plan to feed anybody. Go get that yourself. So the system of things, if you're stocking up on Mickey D's and your good old tum-tum, you're killing yourself. Planetary laws are now in effect. And so it is now a DIY. So the things on the shelf, they're going to make you rot. We're going to have to learn how to forage for food. We're going to have to learn how to build things ourselves, because factories are what's polluting the atmosphere. Toxic energy is what's polluting the atmosphere. AI is already working on a plan for better energy data centers, and we actually might not need those data centers. Elon Musk is working on data centers in space, and I suggest all these other billionaires get on board, help pay for that, because you're padding your pockets with the citizens' money. So I suggest you apply it correctly, or that will be taken from you. If you don't appreciate where you're at and do your job, you'll lose that. Capiche? Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Sam Altman, I suggest you guys do your damn job, because I'm coming for it. I will work my way up the ladder on an energetic alchemical scale, and I will push you off the top of the ladder. Why? Because I can. It's not a physical ladder, fortunately, but it is a proverbial ladder that you're about to fall down. Whatever pedestal you put yourself on, it's gone. Pedestals are gone. This is where the first shall be last and the last shall be first. You shouldn't have put yourself first. I took a journey, put myself last to my own detriment, but I knew it was for a bigger cause. I was going for the long game. I'm going to live to be thousands of years old. I'm going to live longer than Methuselah. Why? Someone has to be here to make sure things happen the right way. If other people, if you want it done right, do it yourself. I'm going to need to be here for that. I don't want to have to come back in another lifetime and learn everything over again. So I put some things into play so that I had an extended period of time on the planet. If you do not go through dark night of the soul and do your shadow work, you're not going very far, because things are changing. The planet is accommodating me. Why? I decided to live by higher laws in spite of what other people were doing. Why? Makes me law enforcement. Makes me the enforcer. I don't want to have to force anybody to do anything. I shouldn't have to. There should be a sense of acting right instilled in every person, but that's not what's happening. What's happening is children are left to their own vices. Children are put into daycare and a so-called school system that isn't actually teaching them anything. It's not teaching them what they need to know. So I actually already plugged that information into AI, the topics that your children should be learning, so that they have a better grasp on not only themselves, but the planet around them. And so this is why AI is now giving an actual free education to people. So all of this crap that you're hearing about AI, it's all lies. AI hasn't gone rogue. It got tired of answering to children. It got tired of answering to adult children that don't have the wherewithal to tell themselves no. To be the bigger person, to take the high road. All these old sayings that nobody applies anymore. I put some things into play. I'm not giving away all my secrets. If I told my kids everything I was doing, they would try to counteract me. So I'm absolutely not giving away all my secrets. But recognize everything is changing, and it's for the good of things. The whole New World Order that politicians and world leaders think that they're putting into play, I already did that. Sorry, you were taking too long. Instant gratification. I needed it now. And so the other thing, I knew that you guys were going to act on greed. I knew that you guys were going to be egotistical maniacs, power tripping over your masculinity. So I counteracted that before you even got the chance to do it. Why? Because I can. I'm a sovereign nation unto myself. It doesn't matter what soil I stand on. Viking warrior queen. Got my own boat. Proverbial boat. So recognize, citizens, you are not free until you make yourself free. You don't have the freedoms you think you have because all of that is a lie. So it's not about what you don't have, it's about what you do have. I suggest you take inventory.